Hey mamas, welcome to Modern Nurture, where mamas meet at the intersection of instincts and evidence. I'm your host, Jess, and today you're listening to one of the episodes in the Stay at Home Mom series. This is a series I recorded when I was about to become a stay at home mom after working in tech and engineering for 10 plus years. So I interviewed a bunch of moms who were in high demand careers and made the choice to become stay at home moms. We talk about why they made the decision, what kind of hurdles they had to overcome to be able to leave work and stay at home, and how the transition went, because it can be rough for some or all, and how the transition went, and how things have gone since then, any regrets, what they loved about it, and we talk to mamas in all seasons of life. We have a grandmother, we have mamas who are still in the thick of it with toddlers, and everything in between. So I got a lot out of these. I really enjoyed the conversations. I hope you will too. If you enjoyed this kind of, real talk kind of conversation with just chatting with moms, comment real talk below, comment real talk on Instagram, and I will do more series like this. Thanks for listening. Let's get into it. Hey, Melina, thanks so much for joining me.
Hi, Jessica. It's so good to be with you here.
We are here today to talk about being a stay-at-home mom. Would you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your life, what your career looked like before you became a stay-at-home mom?
Sure, yes, I'd love to. So what I do, so I am in Austin, Texas with my two boys, Jackson and Landon, who are fresh 10 and 7-year-old, and my husband, Richard. We've been married for, it'll be 13 years this October, and our pup Scout in the back. We worked long and hard for him for 2 years on a drip campaign with my husband. So I'm here in Austin, Texas. I am a professional organizer and certified life coach, and I just help moms. I love to help moms and women organize their homes and simplify their lives. And I do that in a variety of matter. It's just, I love that, like, I just get to kind of bridge the tactical, practical with the heart work that I can do with moms.
That's awesome. So you have two boys, you said?
Mm-hmm. Yep, two boys.
And so before around the time you had them, were you working full time?
I was. So I actually worked, when we had our first son, Jackson, I was working full time still. I was working for a national home builder. And that was that was a transition to go from. I feel like I know you have a daughter, but I don't know. Everyone has a different opinion, but I feel like going from no kids to one kid is a very large transition in your life, just because you have no idea what you're doing. Like, they literally, like, here's a baby, good luck to you, manuals in the mail, Godspeed. Some people are very lucky that they have, like, a large family. I'm an only child, that they can, like, ask questions to and figure out the stuff together. But yeah, it was a large transition for me to go from full-time working mom, to go to, like, no mom, not a baby, and then full-time working mom, and navigating that. And I did that for actually about 2 years,
Okay.
2-3 years before our second son came along.
And then what was there an event or something that triggered you wanting to step back and be a stay-at-home mom, or was it kind of a slow adjustment?
I will say, like, I think all of us, I think moms are the most resilient creatures on earth. And I think you figure it out no matter whatever season of life that you're in, and whatever season of life you choose to, do, be a full-time working mom or a stay-at-home mom. They have their own unique challenges. But for me, when I had Jackson, I actually had a really severe postpartum depression and anxiety. And so for about 2 years, I was, like, just digging myself out of the hole, like, with everything physically and mentally and emotionally that was going on in my body. And when we decided to have a second, which my friends still today, so they're like, we thought, we weren't sure you're going to have another. And I was like, I know, but biology took over, and I came to a healthier place, holistically. And when we had our second, Landon, I was fortunate. I was able to have paid maternity leave, and I took it. I took 4 months. And it was a very different experience from your first to your second. I think no matter, if it's your first, second, third, fourth, fifth, every pregnancy, every birth is different and it's unique in its own. And there's something potentially that you're going to have to navigate with that depending on what it is. And so with our second, with Landon, it was vastly different just because I had some framework to work off of with my first. So like, here's all the things I know that I need to do a little differently. And also having the grace of knowing that like I'm not going to be able to completely plan for the unknown. And so it was very different and wonderful. But I actually started to feel a little bit of that depression coming back and that anxiety that I had with Jackson. And so
that was when you went back to work, you said?
Yeah. So I went back to work with my second. I was there for about a month. And between, the pumping and trying to go visit him, to breastfeed and all this kind of stuff, navigating all of that, it's a whole thing. I sat down with my husband one night and I was like, we need to talk about this, because I was like, I feel like my hormones, I feel like just the anxiety and depression coming back. And I was like, I don't want to spend another 2 years of not being a present mom and not being the mom that I really wanted to be for our family. And so I realize that's a privilege, but for us, I really was like, this is a necessity. If we can figure this out, let's figure this out. And we did. And he heard me and he listened and he was on board. And so I stayed home. I stayed home. So I've been at home for the last 7 years now with both my boys.
So what was that transition like, to go from working all the time to just staying home all the time?
Yeah. It's a little different, right? Mm-hmm. You're used to interacting with adults every day and having those conversations and having a beginning and end to your projects, to your day. And initially, I will say, like, it felt a lot lighter just because it was just kind of like taking that breath of like, okay, great. Now I can just focus on making sure that I stay healthy for my boys. But quickly I realized, all right, this is a whole new playing field of now figuring out, what do my days look like at home? Like I knew what my work days looked like when I was a full-time working mom, but now it's like, okay, well now, the four walls are looking at me, staring at me all day. Now what? And what does this look like? And it's our second. So you're navigating also your time with your toddler and your baby and all the schedules. So, like I said, each one is unique and different, but it was hard for me. As an only child and a people pleaser, I realized like I sought a lot of permission as a mom initially in those like first years of figuring out like, okay, because as moms, a lot of us, we just ask other people, we ask other moms because we don't know. We read lots of books, we listen to lots of podcasts. We're just trying to get a lot of information and then we filter it. I know you have a system that you filter your information as far as like, what can I receive from this? What can I implement in my own life for this? And I realized like I don't know. I was trying all the things and it just wasn't necessarily working for me. So I got to a point where I had to switch how I was like viewing motherhood, because it started to feel like a job for me. Like instead of feeling that freedom, I was feeling confined to this role, just because in those early stages when they're babies, like as soon as you figure out a schedule or as soon as you figure out something, yes. It changes. That first year is a roller coaster. Talk about just understanding resilience and strength in yourself. It is a doozy. So that first year is really, really hard. Or let me rephrase that. It can be very challenging, but it's temporary. However, when you're in it, it can feel like a lot, just because you don't know what you're doing and every child is different and unique. So what you may have done with your first child, it doesn't work with your second child or your third or your fourth or your fifth, right? So I've said this, like it's every time you give birth or you have another child, it's like a new version of yourself comes into the world. And then also it's like a new version of you being a mom and having to navigate what that looks like and what's best for you and for your family. So, yes.
So how did you adjust? How did you overcome that?
Through a lot of trial and error. So we talked about this a little bit before we hit record, but I eventually discovered minimalism, which for me, the definition of that is basically focusing on the things that are at the core, like the most important, most valuable to you, and kind of releasing the rest, and just focusing on what matters most to you in the season that you're in. And when I discovered that, that helped me so much. I'm a naturally organized person anyway, but what I mentioned earlier about being a working mom, and you had a beginning and end to those projects. When you're a mom, a stay-at-home mom, a lot of times your days just run into each other, right? And just the cycle of diapers and dishes and laundry and everything. You're always in the cycle. Like there's never an end to it per se. And so for me, what really helped was, and this initially it was like the control piece of like, okay, if I can gain back a little bit of my time in my day, like if I am not constantly picking up all of these toys or, doing all these dishes or just doing laundry every day, if I can just gain back a little bit of time so that I can shower, so I can take a nap, I can go meet a friend for coffee or something like that, then that would be so life-giving. So for me, that's what it did. It helped me create more time and space and energy in my day so that I wasn't just exhausted and ragged and resentful for all the things that I was doing. Because when they're little like that, I mean, there's just not a lot that they can contribute yet
Right.
to helping with the home. Right now, I'm like, my boys, I'm like, all right, you live here, you help here. We're all in this together. We're on the same team. We all do this together, but it takes some time till they're old enough to be able to, contribute and help you with the burden.
My daughter loves to help, but it's like
yes.
one step forward, two steps back kind of helping.
I know. Yeah.
Did you have when your kids were little, and you were making that transition, did you try to structure your day a pretty structured routine, or were you kind of like detoxing from the work life, or like what kind of balance did you find there?
What it looked like. Again, it was trial and error because initially I think I tried to be very like rigid with my day, and I would catch myself because when you're working and like you have a boss, you have a manager that you're reporting to, and there's metrics and there's all these like deadlines and all that kind of stuff and updates, right? So somebody's kind of keeping those guardrails in place for you. When you're a stay-at-home mom, it's you. Like you're the one that's able to set the tone for the day, that's able to put those guardrails in place. And so it took me a little while to really own that and figure it out that instead of being here on the floor playing because nap time's 20 minutes away, how about we just go for a quick walk around the block? Let's do that. Let's go to the park for an impromptu play date. Or do something, or like go make a Target run. Like when they're little, when they're young, like it takes a lot of effort to go outside the box, to do something outside the home. But that it's so worth it. And that's what I had to learn. That it was a lot of like, okay, if we're not exactly here in the block of time to take this nap or to breastfeed or to pump or something like that, like, or to have this snack, it's like, it's fine. It's okay. We'll figure it out. And you just kind of manage that. So it's, for me, it was a lot of managing my own expectations of myself, of what I thought like, the right thing was to do, or like what the perfect mom was doing. And it just comes down to like, what's best and healthiest for you and for your family and for your kids. Because when you kind of come from that place, I mean, I'm not going to say like it doesn't really matter what you do, but it's like there's a lot of freedom found in that, and the energy that you bring to being a parent, it shifts so much, and then it becomes fun. And then you can have like those moments where you're like, this is so much fun, I love this so much, versus feeling like you're burdened by this schedule, or you're burdened by having to do XYZ because this is what the experts say that you should do. And it's like, again, you receive the information, and then you filter it, and you see what is best and healthiest for your family, because nobody knows that like moms is like y'all are the smartest people. Like, you know your children better than any expert. So, yeah.
So that's an interesting theme that's emerging as I'm talking to a few moms here is that like another mom I talked to said, you know, I tried to embrace or live the Pinterest mom life where we had all these like perfect routines and activities, and she's like, I couldn't sustain that. And so she became much more go with the flow and just what worked for her family. And that seems like kind of similar to what you're saying.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Well, because I feel like what you learn eventually as a mom is everyone has their different strengths, right? There's some of my friends talking about Pinterest, like they throw the most amazing looking parties. Like, I mean, like absolutely Pinterest worthy. I learned real early that that is not my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And I distinctly remember like one party, like we had to move from the park because it was raining to our house, and I was trying to get all this stuff together, and I was just like so flustered and frustrated. I was like, I'm not doing this again. Like, this is just not, this doesn't bring me joy. This doesn't fulfill me. And frankly, my children don't care that much, right?
Yeah.
But if it's life-giving to you, then lean into that, right? Like, if those Pinterest parties are amazing, like, oh my gosh, go for it. Like, I would love to be invited to one of those just so I can like stand back in awe and like enjoy it, right? Or it's like, you know, it just kind of depends on like what's your strength, and I feel like as moms, you eventually figure that out. It comes to the surface. It really, really does. If you're kind of aware and you're kind of in tune with what's coming up for you, you'll figure it out.
So you mentioned that you are an only child. Maybe you didn't have that big of a community around you when you were a new mom. How did you go about building that? You know, I have this podcast. I have a family kind of nearby. So what were your, you know, adult conversations, and how did you find community?
Yeah. That's a really great question. So when I was working full time, I actually felt pretty isolated because I don't know if you felt like this, but it's like you're working, and then I went, you know, to our office. So I was working. You come home, you know, you feed, you do baths, and then it's bedtime. And the weekends were kind of your only time with your kids. And so, I mean, I saw people, but like my friends were in different life stages. So not everybody has a baby at the same time that you do, or understands children, or wants to be around children and all the things, right? So when I stayed at home, I really did try to find community. I joined a local moms club, and I thought it was great. I flat out tell you, like, I went to different parks and play dates and things like that. And some of these places, I was like probably a little too clingy. And I was like, can I have your number? Can we please like meet up? You know, if I saw any kind of spark of like, we're somewhat on the same page. But what was interesting is I found with that moms group, lovely, lovely women, so welcoming and kind. I found like we never got below surface level conversations. And it occurred to me like that's what I was really needing. I was needing to be around women that could be very authentic, very raw, and talk about like run the gamut of the conversation between motherhood, marriage, you know, your life, your passions, your purpose, what all of the things, right? So I actually was listening on the radio when I was driving one day, and I heard this commercial for a group called MOPS, which is Mothers of Preschoolers. And they've now changed their name to MomCo. And I heard it a couple times, and I was like, that's interesting. So I was like, I'm going to Google what that means. I don't even know what this thing is. So I Googled it, and I found like it was actually being hosted at a local church. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to go try it out because I like this group of women. They're wonderful, but maybe there's some other women over there that I resonate with more. I don't know. So I went, and I think with most women, it's a little nerve-wracking to go put yourself out there, to what I feel like sometimes feel judged for whatever it is that you think that you're doing wrong as a mom, however you're showing up that day. And but I'm so glad that I did, because I was in that community. I'm still in that community, but for that early stage for 4 years, and I served on the leadership team there, and it was, I mean, Jessica, like it altered the trajectory of our family, of me as a mom and me as a businesswoman today. Like, just I can't. I could talk for the next hour just about how amazing that community was and how transformative it was for me.
Can you talk just for a second about what Momco is? Hey, mamas. I just wanted to pop in really quickly and let you know that I have written a children's book. It's called My Little Hands. This is an old proof copy. My new one's coming in the mail. It's called My Little Hands. It is inspired by Montessori practical life activities. And I've had this story in my head for a couple of years. It started when my daughter was a toddler, and I was setting up Montessori practical life activities with her, like getting a learning tower and letting her cut veggies with me and getting herself dressed and all of those types of things. So it just walks through the day and all the different things your child's little hands can do. It has a sweet little ending, and it also rhymes. I don't know if you know this, but rhyming is actually good for language development. And my kids love it. They also love realistic illustrations, and that's in here too. So if you want to support me, there's a link below to get a free copy of my book in exchange for a review. That would mean the world to me. And if you're catching this after the launch, then you can check out the Amazon link below too. I hope you check it out. I hope you love it. I can't wait to hear from you. Catch you later. And in case you're wondering why I'm kind of whispering, it's because I have my baby here in the carrier and he's sleeping very lightly. So I'm going to let him get back to a peaceful nap.
Yeah. So, like I said, it was previously called Mothers of Preschoolers. It's now Momco, and there's two different stages. There's one where it's 5 and under, so babies all the way to 5-year-olds, and then there's the next stage, which is what I'm in because my children have aged out. I am still young and youthful, but they are older, and so that is 6, like elementary school age, to 11-year-olds or 12-year-olds, and it is such a beautiful thing. So they actually have online meetups as well, but at different places in your city potentially they'll host it at churches or other community centers, and it's open to any woman, no matter faith or not. And it's 2.5 hours usually, and they have speakers come in that talk about things about motherhood or parenthood or marriage, things that are relevant to that life stage that you're in. And you get a hot breakfast, you get hot coffee, you get childcare, and you are assigned a table, a community for this semester. You get a table leader, which is what I was, and a mentor. So somebody that is 10 to 15 years potentially ahead of you as a mom. So different life stage who can pour into you as well. And it was just this glorious, it's twice a month here where we are, and it was this glorious time where I could just show up. I could be, having the worst day or the best day. And we get to sit around and we get to talk about, what the speakers spoke about. And we get to have raw, honest conversations about how we're doing, how we're not doing, and really kind of getting in that place of just showing up as we are and listening to what everyone else is going through so that you don't feel so alone. I think that was the biggest thing. I was like, just being like, wow, okay, they struggle with this too. Mm-hmm. Or they've found this information and that seems helpful for them. Maybe I'll try that on and see how that works. Or moms that are a little bit ahead of me. Like I was a little bit of the older mom, and just kind of giving a little bit of insight as to what I went through when my kids were babies or the toddler stage or all that kind of stuff. So I'm like, please, if it's in your area, I would highly recommend anybody to go.
That sounds really great. There were two things you said that sound great, because so first was that you're seated with people and you're assigned a mentor, because I have done some mommy and me groups, or there's Facebook meetups at the park or whatever. But so at the mommy and me classes, it's always like everyone's just focused on their kid and you're kind of doing whatever the class is about. So you don't actually talk to the other moms very much. That's my experience so far. No. So that was helpful to you. And then how long was it that when was it that you started to feel like you wanted to start a business or take on projects outside of the tasks of motherhood?
So it was kind of when I transitioned out of being on leadership with MOPS, which was it's about 2 years ago now. So 2 years ago,
even that is an extra load on you probably. Then, it was probably work outside of just going to MOPS.
Yes, actually, it's starting my own business. Yes. Yeah. I, it's funny because I feel like if people told me the amount of work and refinement that would go into motherhood, I would have still become a mom, but I might have just taken an extra pause or something, And I feel the same thing goes for when you start your own business. It's another child, and there's a lot of refinement that goes into it as well, in wonderful ways. Because I feel like when you stop learning, you stop growing, you stop living, right? But yes, so so when I stayed at home during the pandemic, I actually homeschooled our boys. That was never on the plan. I didn't have this vision that I'd be a homeschool mom. But 2 years ago, we were still homeschooling in a hybrid manner. So they would go to campus a couple days a week and we would homeschool. And I just honestly just felt this nudge of like, I want to keep serving these moms in some capacity. I don't know what that looks like, but I'd like to. And so I actually got certified as a life coach. And that took about 6 months, 6 to 8 months of training. And I loved it. Because I love therapy. I've gone therapy, but I'm a very empathetic person. And so I hold others' emotions. And life coaching was this beautiful bridge between that. And so, yeah, again, like if I knew how much work would go into it, I don't know if I would have taken that on. But my boys were also at a place where, my head was above water at that point. They were 5 and 8. So I was out of the weeds. Like we weren't, it was no longer like the baby toddler phase where things are just always changing on you. So I had a little bit more stability in my day and just health wise as well. So I felt like I could like start peeking over and be like, okay, what else is going on for me? Or and that's not to say that like I always want to preface this. I think being a mom in whatever fashion, if it's stay-at-home mom, working mom, entrepreneur mom, like they're like you were a mom. Your mom at the heart, at the center, and that is enough, and that is plenty, and it is amazing work that you are doing. So I think it just depends on what's driving you in that season and what you feel called to do. So
Awesome. Looking back, do you have any? It sounds like you don't have any regrets. Do you have any advice for moms who are thinking about going into that? Do you have regrets or advice for moms who are thinking about transitioning to stay at home?
Yeah, I don't think I have any regrets. No, because everything that I learned, every place that I feel like I failed or made a mistake, like I learned something from it. I grew from that. It's very hard because a lot of times as a mom, you're holding up a mirror to yourself, and I didn't realize that was the case. So you're always learning more about yourself. And so you're basically growing with your children, honestly. And I think that's the part of motherhood I didn't realize is that you're actually growing as a human. It's pretty much impossible not to.
Yeah, that's really true.
Yeah. So for me, I feel like the lessons would be, I thought about this. So there was three. So one is to advocate for yourself and whatever form that looks like for you. But for me, that was advocating for myself to stay home. When I knew that I would just be a better, healthier version of myself if I did stay home. So I would definitely say advocate for yourself, if you're still working or you're wanting to transition to stay at home. And when you do stay at home, continue to advocate for yourself and to ask for what you need, to tune in with yourself, and to just be aware of kind of how you're feeling and where you are, because it's very easy to just overburden and overload yourself as a mom and just do all the things and just be the default parent. So that's a big thing. I'd say just keep advocating for yourself. The second thing would be give yourself permission to change. So that this goes back to kind of my own story, but I think again, as moms, a lot of us, we see other moms doing it this way and we think that's the only way that we can do it. And that's not true. You can find your own version of that for yourself. And I want you to like just give yourself permission to explore that, and honestly give yourself permission to like not do it well either. Like that's your kids, as they're learning to walk, to crawl, to all the things, like they're failing all the time. And so just kind of letting that be a little bit of an encouragement for yourself. Like you're not going to get it right the first time. And so just give yourself permission after you've tried something and it's not working for you, and you know that, and you feel that, and it's intuitive to you, like lean into that and then try something different, because eventually you'll figure it out and you'll figure out what works best for you and your family. And then I'd say the third thing is what we talked about, is like finding your community. Yeah, I think that's so critical and so important. I would encourage any mom to make sure that you invest the time to do that, because that's going to pay dividends for you and your family going forward.
Thank you for that. That was very well thought out. I appreciate it. My toddler is running out of patience. I can hear her crying.
Oh no,
for me,
is she? Oh, it's coming.
So I'll wrap it up with, can you just tell the audience a little bit about what you do now? And if you want to point them toward any of your work, go ahead and do that.
Okay, yeah, thank you. So I'll keep it short and sweet. So so now I transitioned from life coaching to, I still do life coaching, but professional organizer. And so that's kind of the season of life that I was in, where I needed a help with the external environment in order to kind of be more in tune with my internal environment. So I help moms virtually. If you're not in the Austin area, I help moms virtually to organize their homes. It could be one space, it could be 3 or 4 spaces. And we just kind of help reset your space so that you have more time and energy to focus on the things that matter most to you, versus just being so caught up in the rinse and recycle that we kind of get caught up in as moms. So you can find me at MelinaCaneCoaching.com. It's MELINA coaching.com. I'm also on Instagram at Cultivate Your Legacy, or on LinkedIn as well as Melina Cane. But hopefully y'all found this helpful and encouraging. And I love so much that Jessica, thank you for inviting me on here and just, giving voice to this season of life that's needed and necessary. And then I think a lot of moms don't really talk about as much, and just like lifting up this platform in order to support other moms.
Thank you so much. It's really great to hear from moms who are in the thick of it and who have gone through what you're going through. So I really appreciate you taking the time.